Hi, Paul Hefty here with the Triangle O football system. I want to talk about Triangle O buckets. This is our offensive core concepts or our top 20%. Um, how this works is we first have to understand the 80-20 rule, which we'll get into. Coaching point number one, what we're doing is we're separating the total offense into 3x3 buckets. This is a term from Ryan Day, head football coach at Ohio State University, to help us simplify the system. Coaching point number two, then, each bucket is a triangle, meaning we've got three concepts or three plays in our no huddle and RPO structure. Remember, your RPO advantage is you have built-in run and pass game within the same play. And at the end here, then, we'll show you some teaching techniques we use with the system to help improve the learning and processing for your athletes. Let's take a look. All right, Triangle O 20% buckets. What this is we're trying to take your total offensive system, which can be very complex and multiple at times, and trim the fat and get it down to that 20% that you really is producing 80% of your offense. And that's what the 80-20 rule is. You want to understand that typically 80% of your offensive production in a game comes from 20% of your total play inventory. So even though this is a one-back spread RPO system that's very complex, that's why we're using simple alignments, same personnel, and these different tempos to be aggressive, but we want to be able to make complex simple. So don't try to do everything. Pick what fits you, your staff, your players best, and then you can kind of evolve. You'll see with the system, each phase uses just one blocking family or scheme to simplify the learning for the offensive line. And that's the priority here. We want to make everything as simple as possible for our line to process. And then we're going to use multiple RPOs and different pass concepts through some sound teaching techniques we'll talk about. You do want to keep it simple and fun. So the way you do that is simply develop a core inside and outside RPO. And then you've got two plays, but you're playing using complementary football here. With the system, we do what we call trio core type concepts, and these are the foundations, and we'll talk about that. Last, you want to install just one concept from each of these core foundation pieces, and then you can kind of install or add and evolve the series as you go. So here's a visual for you of Triangle Buckets 3x3 system. Bucket number one is going to be our RPOs, and you can see here in the upper right, inside and outside RPOs are going to be our foundation for everything we do. Bucket number two then is your pocket pass. You can see here we've got just three again. This is that 3x3 concept where we've got the vertical, we've got our crosser concepts, and then we do a vertical crosser concept. And then last bucket number three is your Blitz Speeders. And this is where we'll use our sprint pass to run away from the blitz. We'll use screen pass options to run right into it. And then we'll use speed option and pass draw options that accomplish both there. All right, bucket number one, again, this is your foundation. These are your RPOs. Remember, the advantage to RPOs is that you can use the alert cue and it turns your run game into a quick passing game or a PRO, pass run option first. When we do the installation here, you're going to see we want to install zone first and then go to our gap schemes. The reason for that is even if you're not a big zone person, it's a sound and simple way to start, again, prioritizing our offensive line with zone. Everybody's stepping the same way, and it helps build that fundamental technique of double teams and good fit and drive blocking. The key here then is once you get this installed is to pick that core 20% for your inside and outside. So why are we doing RPOs this way? We're going to keep it simple then by having just two plays that have built-in Blitz Speeders. You can see my picks. I'm kind of a gap guy through the years. Again, install zone first, but my inside RPO usually ends up being power. Outside RPO, I love pin and pull sweep. And then our counters, you can see with our backdoors, we're going to use these foundation terms. Backdoor just simply means we're going to run away from the H-back and use counter or what we call jab action by the back. I do like that you run an old school ISO, which I call a blast with counter action then also. Simple sound, and you'll see where it'll scaffold to your passing game. How we're doing this, we only use 3 blocking families, but then we'll use multiple RPO schemes on the outside and on the backside. So zone accomplishes our inside and outside RPOs. That's family number 1. Then we'll do our inside gap RPOs. What this is angle blocking, gap blocking, and man-on blocking. Third one then is our outside gap RPOs family. What's key with this in the foundation is all 3 of the families will have carryover or overlearning into our next concepts we start to use in the system. So zone, for example, you're going to use that for sprint out pass protection and your speed option, which are Blitz Speeders. Inside gap or angle man blocking we'll use for run action passes. And then outside gap or angle blocking there, pin and pull, gives us our waggle, classic waggle play action pass. Again, we can use all of these then for our counters with our backdoor counters rule. I like to say with this then, we only have 2 plays we really need to learn. We're going to run inside RPO and an outside RPO. It's that simple. And one last thing is Joe Moorhead, again, uses this RPO attack method of reading the keys 3 ways. He says you want to go ahead and flat them, you want to bluff them, and when you want to block them. All right, bucket number 2 now is our pocket pass. Key coaching point here, each of these pass concepts attacks the defense at all levels, and it also attacks all types of coverages, man and zone. Key other coaching point is we would install 4 verts first, and then you can build upon the series, but then you'll see it has carryover, it scaffolds into our mesh and our Bama pass. Why are we doing this? Again, we're keeping it simple by having 3 core plays that have built-in Blitz Speeders. Second thing we can do here is we're going to be able to use one protection scheme. We do a half slide protection with our linemen, so we get good at one thing, but then we're going to use it multiple ways where we have the back and the H-back either checking, releasing with 5-man, 6-man, or 7-man protection schemes then. You want to use different route concepts that attack both zone and man coverages, and all 3 of these will do that. How we're doing that is by using only 1 pass pro, as I mentioned, and then these just 3 pass concepts that beat all coverages. So 4 verts, it's classic vertical series. It's a play action pass also accomplishes with it at the same time. So we chunk things together. Our mesh pass is a run and shoot style where we get, it's our great crossers. Now we're going to go ahead and go horizontal, but we use our 5-step drop back here. And again, we can use 5 or 6-man pass protection here. Last one then is a Bama blast. This is from University of Alabama, where you combine the vertical component with a double post, but then we do a high mesh crosser. So we're combining the 2, and this becomes really an RPO play action pass. Neat thing again, they all beat both man and zone covers, and we can use multiple protections, but they have multiple ways, again, to attack the defense both vertically and horizontally. Bucket number 3 then might be the most critical, are our Blitz Speeders, and this is a great example of how we can scaffold our foundation concepts and then use those in the critical part of the offense. So coaching point number 1, each concept moves the QB launch point and we change the reads. We also would install the sprint pass first and these now screen concepts, because again, our sprint pass protection is really our outside zone blocking, and our now screens are the same, our outside zone blocking. The key then again, remember though, is to use your RPOs using the alert call to turn these into quick passes and Blitz Speeders. And that way then you have multiple answers versus the blitz using very few concepts. So why are we doing this? Again, we're going to keep it simple by having 3 ways to beat the blitz, 3 different concepts. We're going to use one screen blocking scheme with multiple screen concepts, and then again we're going to move that QB launch point reads and concepts to fit his skill set. How we're going to do this, as I mentioned before, we're going to scaffold those foundation schemes with our Blitz Speeder schemes. Number 1, we're going to go to that sprint out pass series where we just run away from the blitz. Number 2, we'll use our screen pass options, and you can see again we can use one blocking scheme but multiple screen concepts and get the ball to every skill position so you can get it to your impact player where we're running right into the blitz. And then last is simple speed option and pass draw options. This way we can beat both blitz, both running away from it but also going right into it. And again, remember, these all beat both man and zone covers or man and zone blitzes. All right, last then is our triangle O teaching techniques, and this might be the most important key coaching point here. Coaches, we need to adjust how we teach and how we learn to fit how our players learn and process the best. We need to make the adjustment. So a couple ways we can help simplify for better learning. Number 1 are principles. The offense is based on sound attack principles, and these are time tested and true. You can hear Joe Moorhead talk and use these same things. They're old option principles where we talk about defensive numbers and equating those numbers. That's what RPOs are all about. Number 2 then is just creating blocking angles for our linemen. Again, remember, they're the priority. And then last is taking field, meaning we want to put speed out in space. Speed always trumps scheme. So if you can do that, it's a great opportunity for explosive plays. Number 2, flexibility. All the concepts can be run from 2x2 or 3x1. This is critical with no huddle. One of the things we want to do though is we're going to teach first from 2x2 because again, if we just look at the first principle of numbers, the defense has to be balanced when we're balanced. So it's easy to see that and know how to attack a defense. Minimizing. We want to limit the concept learning for faster processing for the players. The old tradition was to learn these different concepts and move the players around. What we've done now is we actually use rules and really try to limit that concept learning because it allows us to learn a rule and just apply it really fast. Typically in this system, the H-back is the only one that moves and we'll have to adjust with some of the concept learning. Multiplicity. We want to use the same personnel and get everyone involved, touches for everyone. One of the strengths now with no huddle is you can force the defense to adjust to you by keeping the same personnel on the field. And then once you get everyone involved, it does 2 things. It's a great motivator for your players, but number 2, it's hard for the defense to really take any one person or thing away. No huddle. What we want to use here is best teaching and learning. And what research has shown is that signaling or sign language is the most efficient way to communicate. There's no way to get that mixed up or lose the translation. And then using with verbal cues, using word association and themes. When we do the signaling, we're going to start with the sign language right from the beginning for the simple reason it's really fast and it's efficient, as we said, in a communication. If you start with it from the beginning for your skills to have to learn this, just like the quarterback, then they're not going to know any other way to receive the information. Chunking concept. This is real simple. We're going to combine multiple concepts, terms, rules, all into one word calls. We'll just chunk everything together. And what that does for the players in processing, it simplifies, doesn't confuse them. The scaffolding technique. This is where we're going to use these foundation concepts we talked about, and we'll use foundation techniques at each position to build upon the next ones learned. If we can limit the number of techniques we learn and teach, then we can hopefully have a better chance of mastering them. Same thing with our foundation concepts, as we mentioned with our offensive line, which is a priority. They have 4 blocking families they need to learn, and once they've got that, they can run anything in the offense. Tempo. Research here again has shown that if you start with a fast tempo at the beginning, then that becomes the norm for the players. If you start slow, it's hard to change that tempo as you progress through the season. So it comes off a little muddy. It can be a little bit confusing at first, but if you go with that fast tempo, you'll develop fast processing and it'll become the norm. And eventually you'll, after a plateau, you'll just spike and run at great efficiency. Last is balancing. This is critical. You can't be one-dimensional. You have to force yourself from the very simple standpoint of having a core inside RPO and outside RPO. You want to do the same thing with your passing game. Look at, you want to be vertical components, but also crossers. And then ultimately, if you can have run and pass balance, then it's hard for any defense to defend you. Thanks.